Okay, in this video I want to show you guys how to scale, rotate, and use your layer mask. Okay, I'm going to open up a ball, two different balls I downloaded. So I think I have this tennis ball, and I have the baseball underneath. So if we have our tennis ball on the top layer here, the way we scale it would be edit, transform, or free transform. So you go to edit, and then either transform or free transform, which this free transform should be under here, same right above it. So Command T, so I usually hit Command T there. And if you just go out to the outside, you see your icon changes. If you go to the middle, you can move it. It changes to your move tool. If you're on the outside, you can rotate. I like to bring the opacity down a little bit so I can see what's underneath. And then if you want to nudge, you can use your arrow keys. So you can see I'm moving it over with my arrow keys if it's just a little increment that I want to move it. So okay, so let me get back into Photoshop, say rotate, and then let me double click that so that it takes that free transform out of there. So now on this top layer, I want to cut out this white first. So I'm going to bring the opacity of that layer back up so I can see it. You use the pen tool, and I'm just tracing around. And so now that we have our path, and it is the path up here, you want to make sure path is selected. Go to path in your palette, and you're just dragging it over to the third icon over from the left. It's a selection. Once you have a selection, you're going to go back to your layers. Once you have your selection selected, you're just hitting the mask here. So you're hitting the layer mask, and it's going to take away the background. So now I'm not going to use that background anymore, so I'm just going to trash this layer mask just to apply it. Let me move it so that you can see. Let's get rid of that for a second. Is go to your baseball here, because it was a little bit off, it looked like to me, and I would just make a selection of the baseball. I always select another tool before I go ahead and make my selection over here. So I'm just going to drag this over to the selection again. Now I'm going to edit, and I'm going to copy the baseball. I have to make sure I'm on that layer. And then I'm going to paste. So I'm going to edit paste. So now that I have a baseball on its own over top. So you can see it's over top. You're not going to be able to see it. So now, like, the reasoning for that is now I can take out my background. I still have the baseball there and a tennis ball. So I want to go to my background, and I want to use the clone tool. If you right click, you can change the size here, or else you could go up top here and change the size. And remember, if your workspace don't look like this, make sure you're resetting your essentials. Under window, workspace, you have it in here. Okay, so now what I want to do is I could probably use, I want to use this section here to clone over here. So I'm hitting Option and I click once, come over to where I want to clone, and then I click and drag, and you can see it's cloning that crosses, so it's cloning all of that area. So if I want to come over here and re-click this area and clone up to here, you can do that, and you see how it follows into that fold. So then now you let go and it's cloning onto this layer. If I wanted to, I could use another layer up top, and you make sure this says cloned or current and below, or you could do all layers. That should be the way to start it off. So all layers. So let me get this area here, and you can see it's cloning here. Now I could get rid of this layer and I still have that bottom layer, so I'm not really messing with anything. Just want to try to get some of this ball here taken out of here. Now, the one little trick you could do is when you're all finished and it looks like there's areas that don't look right, you can go in there with the healing brush and you could heal those areas. I'm not going to show you that because it's really not that necessary. You don't use it all the time, but it may be good to use to get into the habit of using. So here, I think you want to kind of get these areas so it doesn't look too off here. Like the dark area. Let's see how that transition doesn't look too good. Just do that real quick here. And you can see that it's just cloning it. Then you go in and try to fix areas. It's just that this is going to be a background, so you don't have to be 100% perfect. But if you were doing this if I was doing this for a client and I had to kind of show them, I would do it as good as I can. So even though it's a background, it's always good to do it as good as you can. So let's bring these guys back in. Now you could go into your tennis ball here, add another layer mask, use your brush right here, and you could brush away some of the tennis ball. So you see there, brushing away some of that tennis ball, and you could just kind of like make it seem like it's growing onto the baseball there. And you can also change the color of it. So I'm not really messing with erasing out that tennis ball. I can always select the outside of this baseball and then bring back, if I'm on this layer mask, I could switch my background color to the foreground to white and then bring back some of that area. So you don't want to use the erase tool, is what I'm trying to get at, because you always want to have that option of bringing things back. There's so many times when I had to bring back elements where either someone asked me, oh, can we see this again, see that again, you got to bring it back. So always get into the habit of using these layer masks, because you can take it away and you can bring it back. So last thing I want to show is color adjustment. So in the color adjustment, you go down to the fourth icon from the left here, right next to the layer mask. And let me just go in and use hue and saturation. That's the one that I think most people might use. So let's take the saturation or the color out of the tennis ball. All right, so we're taking it out of everything right now, and I just want to take it out of the tennis ball. So you go in between the two layers and you hold down Option. You see how the icon changed? And you hit click. So now you're only affecting that tennis ball. So now we can go back in, and just like using a layer mask, I could delete this, go back to the original, or I can go into the layer mask of your color adjustment, and you can use the black to bring back the original color. So if I went back into my, so when you're clicking on your layer mask or the layer color adjustment or the layer mask, you want to make sure that you're on each one. Sometimes you get lost and you got to kind of backtrack to see where you're at. Let me go back into my adjustment here and take out a lot more color and maybe raise the lightness just to get a little bit of texture into the baseball kind of. And let me go back into my layer mask here and maybe mask out the hard edge. Like, it's just about, you know, whatever it is that you're working on. So I'm just showing you quick ways of doing different techniques here. So different things you could do. So to maybe you want to go in here and use curves. So this is just going to affect what is directly below it, because you can see that little arrow pointing down. That means it's affecting only that layer. So I could use this hand here on the curves and hit a darker value and just drag up to make that dark value darker. And then I can go over here to the lighter value and drag down. It looks like the down is getting darker. So up would be lighter. Let's go the opposite. And you can see in here, like, you can also drag this curve. There we go. Something like that. Now we could go back to the layer here and we could use these different adjustments to make it seem like there's some sort of pattern on here, like the darks are coming through if you have multiply. So you can see that what you could create there could be something. Maybe you want to put like a image or something on top of something that looks like it's wrapping around. But this is some simple techniques here which can turn into something much bigger. I just want to show you something pretty simple for now.